aspect of IP or every every type of IP, right? So India is kind of still catching up. India has to do a lot of catching up, and India basically has all these laws and all that things in place. But then one thing that still has to catch up in India is in spite of having a good population, it's like the second most populous country in the whole world. But then the number of patent filings, if you see, is kind of disproportionate. It's not as proportionate as the population. So that is something that many of them are kind of working towards, and see as a good opportunity in increasing the number of filings, and getting people to kind of protect their inventions and all that stuff. Anyway, I'll be explaining these things as we go along, but this is the overall fundamental or basis of what intellectual property is. Okay? Yeah. So can we go on? Next slide. So as I said, so why protect intellectual property? Why should you protect it? Why should you not just leave it that way, and not really protect it? So it is basically the inventors or the creators' effort. Okay. So if say for example, if you build a house, okay, on the piece of land, you basically put a fence around it, or you put a compound wall around it. That is basically for protection, right? Well, it can serve other purposes as well, to kind of delineate or demarcate your property, but it is also basically for protection. Now, if you are living in the suburbs, there can be wild animals or something like that can come in, or even if you're like living in the city, you don't want anybody just jumping into your trespassing your property, or jumping into your parcel of land. Okay, so that is why. So that is something like that. So it is, you can draw a parallel there. So it's basically inventors trying to protect inventors or the creators' effort, because they would have put in a lot of time, effort, money in coming up with that particular thing. A thing can be a patent or some technology or some house or something like that, and you want to protect it properly, right? So that is basically the idea behind it. And so nobody likes ideas to be copied. Okay, so you spend a lot of time in coming up with an idea, in developing an idea, and then your neighbor just copies it, or your competitor in the marketplace just copies it. Uh, I mean, then next time around, and then if there is nothing to basically protect what you have done, the next time around you will really not have any incentive to innovate or to invent new things. Okay, so that is on an individual level or a micro level. Now imagine, or kind of translate the same thing to a company level or to a corporate level. Okay, so companies like Apple, Samsung, Bosch, and Benz, and BMW, and all those companies basically do a lot of innovation. So the thing is, the companies actually kind of stand out, and the product of companies which are hits in the market are basically because of innovation, right? So there's a lot of innovative thinking that goes on in companies. There's a lot of R&D effort that goes on in companies, which gives rise to superior products, or products which kind of create ripples in the market, and become market hits, right? So you must have some kind of adequate measures or adequate legal infrastructure to protect these, and that is what intellectual property is. So I'll give you examples as we go along. So this is basically what I mean by you don't like ideas to be copied, and but then also do not want anybody else to kind of make money out of your idea, right? So what will happen is you won't have any incentive to innovate or create, and so the whole ecosystem, which basically supports people like you, will kind of fade away, right? If you invent, and then you will, and then if the ecosystem basically supports sharing of your invention, or sharing of your inventive thoughts to others, and then others are profiting from it because of superior marketing or because of some other reason, then you will not, at the end of the day, have any incentive to create or any incentive to invent, okay, or even innovative thinking. So you can't really enjoy the fruits of your labor. So that is basically what the reason why IP needs to be protected. Okay. Yeah, on the next slide. Yeah. Okay, so this, it's actually a very interesting idea, very simple idea, and a very useful idea in that. Okay, so am I going too fast, or you want me to be a little slow? Okay, I'll just slow down. So this, if you see, is actually a very simple idea, not a complicated or a complex idea at all, and it's very useful. Okay, you do not need a lot of thinking to basically implement this idea or come up with this idea in first place. So this is an animal ear protector which was filed, if you can see, in the year 1980 in the US. So this is a US grant. Okay, so it basically solves the problem of the ears of certain dogs. Okay, or even can even be applied to other animals which actually have long ears. Not to get into their food, or basically their milk or their food or something like that when they're eating, or their water, right? When they are eating or drinking. So it basically kind of keeps the the hair. Okay, fine. So it basically keeps the hair away, so that the animal can comfortably eat, right? So that's a problem. And then any patent, if you see, or any invention or any technology for that matter, any new technology for that matter, has a problem to solve. Okay, so it basically solves some other problem. Without a problem, you will really not have a solution in the first place. Nobody would actually keep thinking, or there's no motivation for anyone or any inventor to basically think about a new idea or a novel idea if there is really no problem in the first. Okay, so that's more of, I would say, psychology, and that's more of the inventor psychology. Okay, so this is an example of a patent, and what you see on the right side is a patent grant from the USPT, or the US Patent and Trademark Office. Okay, so that's a grant that you actually have or get from the US Patent Office. Okay, next slide. Okay, so this is actually a very interesting idea to see this. So this was patented in way back in 1900. Okay, so this was again in the US. So all you need to do is kind of just sit inside the bathtub, okay, and then zip up, fill the bathtub with water. So what happens to the bathtub is the bathtub basically keeps shaking. Okay, it's a rocking bathtub, something like a rocking chair. So basically keep shaking, so that you really do not have to kind of wash your hands or wash your legs or wash your body or something. So the water will, or the tilting will basically splash the water all over you, and it will basically clean you. Okay, kind of a way to make people lazy in that sense. But anyway, it kind of solves, if you think that doing this when having my bath is a problem for somebody, then they can actually get this. So it's a kind of a rocking bathing tub, or an oscillating bathing tub. Maybe some people may like it, some people may not like it, but it's patented and it's granted. It's a pretty interesting idea, I would say, pretty nice idea, right? And what you see on the right side is basically Indian grant from the Indian Patent Office. So you can see the emblem there. So that's from the Indian Patent Office, a patent grant from the Indian Patent Office. So what you must remember is, once you file for a patent, you are not going to get a grant immediately. Okay, a grant will be, basically take some time, and patent filing is different from patent grant. Okay, so grant can actually take anywhere from 3 years to even 7 to 8 years in India. Okay, that's a pretty long time in India, but right now it's kind of reducing. But that is what a grant is. So a grant is actually different from a patent filing or a patent. So that is a difference that many people kind of confuse with, and it is something that needs to be clear. Okay, next slide, please. Yeah. Okay, so this again, well, what I'm doing here is basically kind of presenting examples of it, so that you get a kind of get a feel of it from the technology side. Okay, because you're all technologists from different departments, I suppose. So you might all of you might have mechanical. Some of you might have mechanical background, computer science background, electronics background, all that stuff. Okay, so I'm just trying my best to kind of pull examples from different fields. Okay. So the one on the left side that you see is basically from Amazon. Okay, so Amazon has a technology which is called the one-click buying, or one-click purchase, or one-click technology. So what it basically, it's a pretty simple technology. Right now, everyone pretty much has it. But what it basically does is, like, you just put in all the information there, your credit card number and all that stuff. So once you just click hit, I mean, once you just hit, buy now or, add to cart or something like that, then, everything gets processed. So you don't have to go through multiple hits of any button. All you need to do is just do one click, and then, it gets things done. So of course, it's kind of solves a problem for me, a big problem for me of going through all the steps, and it saves a lot of time for me as well. Okay, so that is what is a one click checkout or a one click process there. And what you see on the right side is the swiping technology. Okay, well, swipes are now commonplace. Okay, it's there in every phone, or every even iPad or the phone, or pretty much even in some advanced desktops actually have swiping technology. But the swipe technology came, if I remember right, sometime in 2004 or 5, when the Apple when the Apple 3S was actually introduced. That is what I remember. So that was the initial swipe, the swipe technology that we I remember using. So after that, almost all phones now have it. Samsung has it, Oppo has it, Vivo has it, and then Micromax, LG, every company that you basically see has uses swipe technology. So how would you think? So this is something slightly, an idea that is slightly deviant from what I'm from my main point. But how do you think all the other companies are also able to use it? Okay? So I said earlier that patent or intellectual property, which is one type of intellectual property, is a property, right? So it can be leased, it can be licensed. So by leasing, what I mean is basically licensing. So it can be licensed, it can be sold, and all that. So I am assuming that Apple probably has the original patent for this, and then when all the other manufacturers also wanted to incorporate this particular technology, the swiping technology for phones, Apple licensed it to everyone. Okay? So what Apple does is basically license this patent to all the other people like Samsung, all the other phone manufacturers, because of which they can incorporate this particular feature in their products, and then they pay a yearly royalty, or based on the number of products that they are selling, royalty back to Apple. Okay, so Apple would make a lot of licensing revenue, patent licensing revenue from this particular feature, or on this particular patent. Okay. So that is also one way of making money with patents. Okay, next slide, please. Right, so these are designs. Okay, so these are not really patents. Now, the difference between patents and designs is that patents would actually cover, or protect the technological point or the functional aspect of something, of a device or a product. Now, designs would cover the design or the aesthetics or the ornamentation of a product. So what you see here on the top is a typical Crocs sandal. Okay, so it is typically something that is similar to, so it has its breathing functionality. It is something similar to an ordinary sandal that I have from I can buy it from Bata or something of that sort. So there is really no difference in terms of functionality. Okay, the functionality is pretty much the same. But what this provides is the beauty or the aesthetic of this particular product. So it looks attractive, right? Now I have a Bata sandal on one hand, and then I have this Croc sandal as well on the other hand. Which one would you buy? I would probably go for this Croc sandal, because it looks kind of hip, it looks trendy, it looks really fashionable. It comes in different colors, though colors are probably not a part of design, but the look of it, and the shape of it, basically, right? So coming to the shape, there you have the Coca-Cola bottle. Okay, so this bottle is a very famous example of a design. Okay, where this shape is kind of can be used. So this shape has been protected by Coca-Cola, but right now, since the design registration would have expired, the others can actually jump in and start using this as well. But then, so initially it was invented by Coca-Cola. So Coca-Cola also has, if you see the other shape of the bottle, okay? So that is kind of proprietary initially. That was proprietary initially to Coca-Cola, and they actually kind of started. So anyone who basically has a shape, during the term of the design registration, will not be allowed by Coca-Cola to use that particular shape because it is their monopoly. Okay? So the one on the bottom is basically again the iPhone. So the one on the bottom is basically in the iPhone. So it is the shape of the iPhone. So the iPhone when it was initially introduced way back in 2003 or 4, you could actually see the shape of the iPhone. So the shape of the iPhone was pretty attractive, right? So iPhone basically kind of introduced this shape or this way of how a phone looks or a phone has to behave, something like that. So iPhone, if you see your typical phone, will have functionality which is protected by patent, and then it will have these shapes which is protected by designs. Okay, of course it will have other IP rights as well, but I'm just constraining this to right now to currently to just these two IP rights. Okay, so yeah, next slide please. Okay, so this is very clear for you. Okay, the one that you see is a Benz mark. Okay, the one on the right side you have an Apple mark. Okay, so what does it basically signify? Okay, so if I see this Benz mark on something, then I kind of associate that particular thing with Benz, with Mercedes Benz. Okay, so I know, so Mercedes Benz, if you see, it stands for quality. Okay, it stands for German engineering, stands for quality, stands for all the good things, superior, distinct value, and all that stuff. So anybody who, so I sometimes I see that in cabs. Sometimes you just put this sticker on your bike or your car, even though it is really not a Benz car. So people want to be kind of associated with it. So that is what a trademark basically is. Okay, the trademark signifies or denotes the source or origin of goods and services. Okay, so if I, let's say for example, tomorrow I become a manufacturer of laptops. Okay, now I manufacture a laptop which is no way associated with Apple. Okay, but then I put the Apple mark on my laptop. Okay, it is actually a crime. It's a criminal activity in the first place. I can't do that. But then I will have some leeway in the market. I will have some leverage in the market because people will associate my brand or my laptop for or associated with Apple. Okay, with the company Apple. But in reality, it is actually not so. So that would actually constitute trademark infringement. Okay, so I'm actually not supposed to do that, but then I do it, which again, as I said, it's a criminal activity, so as to sell my products in the market because the laptop market is is very competitive. You have lots and lots of places, right? Okay, so coming the other one is copyright. Okay, I'm not showing examples there. It is just a copyright, but copyrights are pretty interesting. Well, you would have heard of copyrights. Copyrights would have been is very popular, and you would have definitely heard of copyrights. For example, movie songs, movie stories, books, authorial efforts, photographs. Any photograph that you take is your copyright. It's an automatic registration. A copyright is you don't have to really go and register. It's an automatic thing that you get. So even if I write a passage, write an article to a newspaper, or if I write a small book, for example, I have my copyright. Okay, so that is what is a copyright. So music, I'm saying like lyricists have, you would have heard of issues uh, in the industry, in the South Indian or the Tamil movie industry, or the or also in Bollywood, that he stole my my story, or this is my he stole my music, and this is actually what I created and not him or her or something like that. This is basically copyright. Yeah. So the next slide, please. Okay, so this is a very interesting type of, okay, sorry, I did not expand it. It's a very interesting type of IP right. It's called geographical indications. Okay, so this I would say is a kind of a collective IP right or a group IP right because it is not constrained to just one person, but a group of people. Okay, a group of people belonging to a particular place. Okay, now the quality of that particular product or the quality of the product that comes out of that particular place is attributed to some geographical feature. Okay, now say for example, there are very good examples. Okay, so in India, if you see, Karnataka is the, okay, I'm not able to see the screen. Okay. So in India, Karnataka is a state which has the highest number of GIs, geographical indications, followed by Tamil Nadu. Okay. So some examples from Tamil Nadu, let me give you, is Coimbatore cotton. Okay, cotton is famous in Coimbatore. Coimbatore bed grinder. Okay, Dindigul puttu or Dindigul locks. Okay, and then you have recently a GI was given to Kovilpatti Kadalamittai. Okay, so I think that is famous in Kovilpatti, and it's because of all the ingredients are basically sourced from somewhere near Kovilpatti, or from the village or from the town itself, and then the water that is mixed into the kadala mittai and the kadala also that actually goes into the mittai, and all the jaggery and the sugar that goes into it. A very very good example from Tamil Nadu is Tirunelveli halwa. Okay, so Tirunelveli halwa, what people say, the irritikada Tirunelveli halwa, uh, gets its taste, or gets its taste basically from the water of river Tamarabati. Okay, so it's because they use the water. So you can't get Tamarabari in Chennai, you can't get Tamarabari water in Coimbatore or in Delhi. Okay, so you will have to go to Tirunelveli, and maybe it's close by regions to get that particular water. So since that water and maybe the sugar or the palm sugar or the jaggery or something that grows in that particular place, that is available in the particular place, goes into the halwa, that is because, and that is why you get the taste. Okay, so that is basically geographical indication. Mysore silk is another example. Okay, and then you have so these are some of the examples. So let's not spend too much time on that. So there's a very very interesting IP IPR or intellectual property right. Okay, next slide, please. Next slide. Okay, can you go? Yeah. Okay. So as I told you earlier, so patents basically protect technical inventions, protect the functionality behind the technical inventions, and not the aesthetics. The aesthetics or the beauty of inventions are covered by design. Okay, so this covers the functionality or the technology behind it. Okay, so it's a negative or exclusionary right. Now, the reason why I call it a negative or exclusionary right is because it's you don't need a patent to commercialize your invention, or to put your invention in the market, or to sell your invention. Okay, it is basically used to exclude competition. Okay, so that you don't have copiers. Okay, so that you can take the copiers to the court. Okay, so that is why it is called an exclusionary right, because it excludes competition, and it's granted by the patent office. So it's granted by a government body, and there's no private body that can actually grant a patent in any country. It's always by the patent office, which is a government body, and it's governed by the patent law of each country. Okay, so you have a patent law in every country that governs what can be patented, how it has to be done, and the process and the procedure and all that stuff. So basically, the requirements for patenting, or the criteria that gives you a patent, is pretty much is universally the same. Okay? It's only the process and all that basically differs, and it's granted for a period of 20 years from the date of filing. And the three criteria that decides whether you get a patent or not is novelty, inventive step, and industrial applicability. Okay, so what I mean by novelty is your particular thing or your particular invention has to be new. Okay, it has to have a feature that is basically new in your invention. Now, take for example, this is a pen. Okay, so you can see this. Now, this is already there. Now, what I do is I put a microprocessor, or I put some kind of a microcontroller inside, and then I put a liquid level sensor. Okay, a level sensor is basically to sense the level of ink that I have, because it is completely opaque. Okay, because that gives a beauty. Right? I don't want it to be transparent. I want it to be opaque, and that is why it looks beautiful. Right? It it kind of appeals to the public, and that is why public buy it. So I put a level sensor inside here. I put a microcontroller inside here. So the microcontroller reads the signals from the level sensor, and it is a small display that shows the amount of ink that is left. Okay, pretty simple technology. No rocket science, nothing. Just pretty simple technology. So if that kind of technology or that kind of additional feature, if you do not find it in any pen, then my pen has this novel. Pretty simple, right? There's no rocket science here. Now, when it next comes to inventor step. Now, is this novel feature that I have, this small addition that I do to this pen, is this really inventive? Is it inventive in the sense? Is it pretty? It is very simple. Is it very obvious, or is it not very obvious? Okay. Do I have to spend some time thinking about it, or will it occur naturally to everyone? If it occurs naturally to everyone, then it is not an invention. Okay. So it must be quite difficult. It must be quite difficult to think about, and that is how it becomes an invention. Because only then it means that I have spent some time, I have spent some intellectual effort. Okay, so that is basically inventive. And industrial applicability is pretty simple. Now, is this applicable in the industry? Yes, it is. Right? It is basically a pen, and I use this particular feature to basically see, the amount of ink that is in it. Okay? So it is industrial. I don't know. So if these things are actually satisfied, then your invention will actually be, then your patent will actually be granted. So novelty is actually not very difficult to cross. Okay, it is like a 0 or a 1. It is very objective. Okay, it is digital. So you have it, it's 1. If you don't have it, it is 0. Inventive step is subjective. Okay, that's more qualitative in nature. The novelty is more quantitative in nature, whereas inventive step is a little more qualitative in nature. Because it is subjective, it requires some kind of an inventive analysis. Okay? So that is, I would say, a kind of a more difficult hurdle to cross when compared to novelty. But once you cross it, then I think getting a patent is really not a problem. Yeah, next slide. Okay, so overall devices and processes, all of them can actually be patented. Scientific principles can be patented. You can't patent gravity. Okay, you can't patent, say, nuclear fission and nuclear fusion. Okay, you can't patent Newton's first law, second law, and third law. You can't patent Ohm's law. Okay, because these are things that are naturally occurring. Nobody has any monopoly over this, or nobody can get any monopoly over this. So this law is pretty much universal, and across all the countries. Naturally occurring substances cannot be patented. Okay, for example, I can't patent iron. I can't patent oxide. I can't patent aluminium. Okay, so these minerals are, or manganese or magnesium or phosphorus or whatever. So these minerals are naturally occurring, and people have a right over these things, or governments have a right over these things. Okay. And then offensive and immoral inventions can be patented. So I can't say, for example, patent a gun, okay, or something that affects the public safety. Okay? A gun is something that would affect public safety, and I can't really patent a gun. And what is more offensive is something that's really vulgar or obscene, and something that does not really go well with the morality of the public can't be patented. So all these things can't be patented. Methods of treatment can't be patented. Most importantly, in the US, it is actually patentable, but not in India. Methods of treatment are something like, so I have a drug, and this drug has to be administered to the patient intravenously, or through intramuscular um, administration of the drug to the patient. So the reason why a method of treatment cannot be patented is because it interferes with the work of a doctor, right? A doctor is a lifesaver. Okay, so governments generally do not want people to get a monopoly over what a doctor does. Then doctors will have to get licensed from the patentee. If method of treatment can be patentable in India or can be patented in India, doctors will have to run to the patent owner to say that, okay, fine, so I need to give an injection to this guy, give an intramuscular injection to this guy, I need a license for it. That is absurd. That is stupidity. Okay, so that is the reason why methods of treatment cannot be patented. Software, algorithms, and mathematical methods cannot be patented. Software, algorithms, and mathematical methods as such can be patented. But we have kind of, when we draft a patent, And when we file this, patent with the patent office, we kind of draft it in a different way, slightly different way, so as to kind of overcome this objection, and that's how we. Yeah. Right. So next slide, please. Next slide. Yeah. So can simple ideas be patented? Yes. What I told you was novelty, inventor step, and industrial applicability. Okay. If these three criteria are satisfied, then you can patent any idea, regardless of the idea being simple or complex. Okay. If for a complex idea or a complicated idea, if you're not able to satisfy these, then it can't be patented. If for a simple idea, if you're able to satisfy all these criteria according to the government of India, then it can be patented. It's as simple as that. Okay. Now, if you see the one on the attachment at the bottom, or the picture at the bottom, it's basically a shoe with a spring. Okay, so you have these spring-loaded shoes and all that from Reebok and Nike and all that, right? Which we would have heard. But this is like, I don't know which year it was. It was way back in 1920 or something. So it is basically a shoe with a spring attached, which would actually give, which would give, I would say, more force or more jumping force for the athlete who uses the shoe. Okay, so it's a pretty interesting idea. Okay, so it gives you a huge advantage in that sense. Okay, so nowadays shoes actually have all these springs and all these maybe air cushions and all these resilient material inside the shoe, but not really external, so it improves the appearance as well. But this was the early invention, or some thought has already gone into this particular technology in the early 1920s. So what you see on the right is basically spike shoes, okay, that a footballer would love, really love. So this was again way back in the 1926 or something. These are all US patents, but so we have improved versions right now, but this was probably the earliest one among them. Okay. And next slide, please. I think we are running out of time, so let me just go a little faster. So this is a patenting process. Okay, so once I file a patent application, then within 12 months, if I need to extend my patent application to a foreign country, I can do that within 12 months. Okay, so I file an Indian application, and then I also want to file a US application, an EP application, or a European application. I can do that within 12 months. Okay, or any other country for that matter. And then I will have to request examination with the patent office. Okay, so only if I request examination with the patent office will go and examine my image. They will see if there is anything else that is close by to the invention, anything that is relevant out there to my invention, and because of which my invention cannot be patented or not. And then they will do this analysis of novelty, inventive step, and industrial applicability, and then tell me whether it is granted or rejected, or then I take a decision of abandoning it or whatever. Right? So not all. So what you have to remember here is not all patents that are applied or filed will be granted. There'll be some that be rejected as well. Okay. And then, so 20 years from the date of filing is the expiry. So it expires 20 years from the date of filing. Right. Next slide. Okay, so where to file? So you'll have to file it with the patent office of any country. So as I told you earlier, we have the Indian Patent Office, and so we have 4 branches of the Indian Patent Office geographically. So all the applications from the south goes to Chennai. All the applications from the west goes to Mumbai, Delhi, and Calcutta. Okay, so that is how it is basically structured. But nowadays we actually have e-filings, so all these things are electronic filings and no more paper filings we follow. So, but even if you file it, it goes to the Chennai Patent Office. That is how basically it happens. And it has to be drafted and formatted according to the rules. Okay, we do not. Okay, now even though it is English, it is really not English per se. So what you can do, you can just go to Google Patents, type something, download a patent document, a US patent document or whatever. Just see how it is written. Okay, this is for your exercise, your interest or your curiosity. Just see how it is written. It will be written in English, but the way we write it or the way we format it is completely different. There is a part towards the end of the patent, which is called the claims, okay, which defines the scope of the invention, which gives you the technical scope of the invention. So the claims is completely contorted and distorted on and funny English. That is how we do it. Okay, so we will have to learn. So basically, I was mentored by, my mentoring was done by 2 or 3 senior patent attorneys, and I learned the trade basically from them, and then I basically kind of read up a lot, and then kind of improved my knowledge, and that is how you basically do it. So it takes a few years at least to kind of see a wide variety of technology and then draft claims accordingly. Okay, so it is not a very easy job to do that, and it requires quite a lot of practice to draft claims and to draft a specification. So a patent agent, so people like me, I mean, we are all patent agents. So patent agent is qualified to appear before the patent office. Okay, so I can appear before the patent office. I can argue in front of the controller in the patent office for getting a patent for my client. Okay, so that is how this whole patent system works. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so as I said earlier, the grant time can be anywhere from 3 to 5 years. So India might take around 5 to 7. The US is like around 3 to 4. The different countries, different time. Okay, but India is trying to actually make the process much more efficient and optimal, and trying to reduce the time that it takes to grant it. And accelerated examination options are also possible. So I can invoke the accelerated option, and thereby I can get a grant quicker. Okay. So once it gets granted, I need to pay maintenance fees every year. Okay, if I don't pay the maintenance fees, the patent gets lapsed. Okay, so the maintenance fees is something like I would say a disincentive that the government gives to the applicant or puts on the applicant to make the applicant think, okay, whether it is worthwhile to pay this fee and maintain the patent, whether am I getting any benefit out of it, because a patent is basically a monopoly. Okay, so once I get a patent, uh, I have a monopoly for this particular piece of technology for the next 20 years. Okay, and nobody can use it. That's why I said it's a negative right or an exclusionary right. So nobody can actually use it. So for a free market, or for a competitive market, monopolies should not be there. Okay, no government would actually want monopolies. The monopoly is something that's anti-competitive. Okay, it's something like cartels that you have. So these cartels can't exist in a free market, or in a or in a free market, or in a competitive environment, or a competitive market. Okay, so that is the reason. But then patents are also pretty important to protect technology. So that is the reason why governments will have to kind of do a balancing act here. So give patents in the first place, but at the same time have something in the patent ecosystem of any particular country to kind of disincentivize the applicant from holding a patent for a long time. So if the applicant thinks, or if the proprietor thinks that there is no use for holding this patent, so he does not have to spend money every year in holding this, and he can just let it go. Okay, so that it gets into the public domain and people are free to use it. So thereby increasing the level of competition in the market. Okay, so this is based on patent policy. Let me not get deeper into it, but just want to give you an idea. Yeah, next slide, please. So okay, so as I told, I can extend protection within 12 months to foreign countries, and I can also do something like a PCT filing. Now, PCT filing is another type of application, or a patent application, which again I'll have to file by 12 months, so that my foreign entry dates can be 31 months. I just wanted to introduce this particular topic, not really get into it. Yeah, next slide. Yeah, okay, so these are some interesting statistics. Now, if you see in India, now this is the 2017 statistics from the Indian Patent Office. Now, if you see in India, the number of patents filed have been growing slightly, but we have almost like 45,000 patent applications that have been filed every year. And the grants, if you see, are kind of increasing well. So 9,000 grants in 2016 and 17 alone. Okay, next slide. So overall, if you see from the academic institutions, you have the IITs are filing a lot of applications. and then Wipro is one really top filer, and then Mahindra & Mahindra, BHEL. There are many more, but I just wanted to give you the top five. Okay, next one. Yeah, so this is again who files the most: Wipro, TCS, and IITC. Next one, please. Yeah, this is an interesting statistic. Now, state-wise, which state files the maximum number of patents? This is again 2017. Maharashtra, first one. Second is Tamil Nadu. So you can go by the industrialized states. Okay. So we have Maharashtra. Maharashtra is also a very industrialized state. Tamil Nadu is also a very industrialized state. Karnataka is also industrialized, but compared to Maharashtra and Tamil Nadu, I would keep it one notch down. But then you have lots of IT industries in Karnataka. Whereas Maharashtra and Tamil Nadu, you have lots of heavy industry, right? We have automotive clusters in Maharashtra and Tamil Nadu. We have textiles in Tamil Nadu, and we have many other small lot of MSMEs. Tamil Nadu is actually filled with a lot of SMEs and MSMEs. So these industries would also contribute a little bit to patents. So almost 2,000 filings from Tamil Nadu alone, and Maharashtra is more than 3,000. Okay, next one. Okay, so how much does it cost for you to file? Around 2,000 rupees for an individual or a startup. If it's a company, it's around 8,000 rupees or so. And the other costs that you will have to bear are basically examination, drafting charges, and lawyer fees, and patent agent fees, and all that. But foreign filings can actually cost you substantially more. Next one. Yeah. Okay. So this is one of the most important slides that I wanted to kind of or I want to kind of convey this message across. So everything basically depends on the draft. So I told you that the draft is very important, the claims part and the specification part, because the claims basically give or delineate the scope of your invention. Okay, if I make a mistake in the claim, then the power of the patent or the value of the patent goes down drastically. Okay, so I'll have to be very, very careful when I draft a claim. Okay, so and these can actually be done only by experienced drafters. So the message that I want to give you here is, if you are going for a patent filing, if you are considering a patent filing, go to a patent agent who has good experience. There are people who can draft a patent even for 5,000 rupees in a year. Okay, my sincere advice to you would be not to go to them. Okay, I can. There are lots of people who do it for 5,000, 10,000, even 15,000. But for getting a quality draft across, you will need to spend a little bit more money. Okay, patent drafting does not come very cheap. Okay, so that is something that that I want to So whenever I get this opportunity, I always give this to people, because people will have to be aware, and especially technical people and inventors will have to be aware of this. Okay. And so again, as I said, it is not drafted in simple English, and drafters need to have the skill and technical competence. So for a patent drafter or for a patent agent, he or she needs to have a technical degree. Okay, otherwise you can't sit for the exam. So becoming a patent agent, you have a patent agent examination which is conducted by the government of India, and you'll have to take that examination. It's based on the patent law of India, so you'll have to take that examination and then clear it. Okay, it's a competitive government examination. So not everybody can actually apply for it. You will have to be an engineer, or you'll have to be a chemist, or you'll have to be or a biologist, or you have to be some kind of a scientific background has to be there in order to sit for the exam in the first place. Okay, so we understand patent law, patent agents understand patent law, as well as technology. That is the unique mix of skill that we have. Okay, yeah. So I think we are almost towards the end. So this is my contact. So if you have any queries, or if you need any help with drafting or filing a patent, you can always contact me. Anyway, I'm there on the alumni network website as well, but you can just take my ID. I think now we can open the floor for questions. Anand, I'm done with my presentation. I think we exactly be complete.
So participants can ask the questions through the chat box only.
Okay, so I see a few messages for sharing the website. I mean the PPT. I think Anand can do that. The presentation is already with him.
Uh, if you permitted, we can share that, sir, with your permission only.
Yeah. I think what I would suggest is convert that to a PDF and then share.
Sure, sir. Sure.
So, any questions?
I think there is no questions on that.
Okay.
So we can conclude our session, sir. Thank you so much, sir. So for
Okay.
the wonderful, innovative ideas to our student community. So thank you so much, sir.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks, Anand. Thanks for arranging this, and it was a pleasure talking. Thank you.
So one request to participants, we have pasted the feedback link in the chat box. So all the participants, please provide your feedbacks on that link. Thank you, sir. So
Thank you.
participants may leave. Thank you.
Thank you all. All right, Anand. So I think I'll drop off as well.
Sure, sir. Sure, sir.
Thank you.